Good morning, Westmore Central. This is Miss Hennessy here, 9th and 11th grade school counselor. I'm fortunate enough to be joined with Miss Samantha Vogel from Florida Gulf Coast University. Hi, Samantha. How are you today?
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So we'll start off by just asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, the school you represent, and your favorite aspects of Florida Gulf Coast.
Sure, absolutely. So once again, my name's Samantha Vogel. I am the Assistant Director for Freshman Admissions at Florida Gulf Coast University. So hello from sunny Southwest Florida. We are located about 2 hours south of Tampa and 2 hours west of Miami. So we are in the Southwest region. We are one of the further south state universities, not the furthest south, but one of the further south state universities in the country, actually. So we're located in Fort Myers, Florida, if you all are familiar with it. And we are located on the lovely Gulf of Mexico. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about the school. As far as where we are geographically, I'd have to say one of my favorite aspects about FGCU, I mean, one is our campus is absolutely gorgeous. I am looking outside and I've got, I don't know how many palm trees that I get to see right outside my window. So you really can't be upset about that. But I also really love FGCU for all of the environmental and sustainability efforts that our school has. So that's something that's really important to us as a campus. We are located on about 400 acres of protected nature, so like Everglades and our marshland. And so everything from our education to our green dining, where we grow sustainable food, that is all something that has really helped us become one of the nation's most greenest campuses. So I think that's pretty cool and something that's kind of unique to FGCU.
That's excellent. In addition to the green campus culture, can you tell us a little bit more about additional components to the campus culture, including the sports, clubs, Greek life, those kind of factors?
Sure. So we have a little bit for anyone here at FGCU. We're definitely a comprehensive university, meaning we've got just about any major you can think of, as well as just about any student club or organization. So we do have 15 D1 athletic teams. So we are D1. That's something we're really excited about. We love to cheer on our D1 athletes. We have 26 fraternities and sororities here on campus, so quite a few different opportunities if students did want to join Greek life. And then we also have over 250 registered student club and organizations. So in between classes and on the weekends, there's quite a bit for students to be able to do. We have the Florida Everglades, which are just south of us. And then we, of course, have our Gulf of Mexico beaches that aren't too far away. We have a resort style pool here on campus that students can enjoy. And then at our lakefront beach that we actually have here on campus, students can rent paddle boards, canoes, kayaks, sailboats, and go out like inner tubing on our motorized wake boat. So there's a lot for students to do. As far as student clubs and organizations go, like I said, we have everything from Greek life to club sports. We have academic focused clubs and organizations. And then my personal favorite here on campus is actually our hammock club because I love to take naps. So if I had to join a club right now, it would probably be the hammock club.
That sounds wonderful. What percentage of your students participate in Greek life?
We have it's here, it's a presence, it's not a necessity. So I think just about 15% of our students.
Okay. What are some fun traditions that you have at your school?
So one of my favorite traditions is when classes start back up, we have our welcome week, and our campus definitely goes full on. So we'll have we'll have concerts here on campus. For the first day when classes started back up, we had a full carnival right in our library lawn, which was right near where my office is. So they had all sorts of carnival rides and games that were really enjoyable. We get food trucks that come around all the time here on campus because it's always nice outside. So we get quite a few food trucks that come, I'd say at least once a week. That's something else I love because they're usually near my office as well. So I would definitely say our welcome week is my favorite time on campus personally, because it just really is here to make sure that all of our students are ready and welcomed into coming to the university.
Great. What are some of your favorite food trucks that you have on campus?
Oh my gosh. So I love when the brunch food truck comes. And then we get this really good milkshake one that comes from Miami, actually. They drive all the way over from Miami, and it's one of the better milkshakes I've ever had. But I don't think I've had a bad food truck experience here on campus. So definitely kind of nice. And I think for students, it shakes up the campus dining a little bit. We've got a lot of dining opportunities, but it's nice when you have food trucks on rotation as well.
Yeah, that's a nice addition to have, definitely. So what are some top majors at Florida Gulf Coast?
Okay, so we have about 64 undergraduate majors that students can choose from. And I always have a hard time answering this question because we love all our majors equally, and we are a comprehensive university. So, like I said, we've got a little bit of everything. But some of our more unique ones are the ones that usually come to mind. One would be our marine science program. So, it's similar to marine biology, but it's more comprehensive. So, that combines multiple aspects of science. So, it's biology, chemistry, physics, geology, just about anything you can think of, math, which helps really for students who are interested in marine biology. I highly encourage them to check out our marine science program because it makes you have a little bit more of a well-rounded education than just pure marine biology. For that program in particular, where we're located at, students go out, I mean, literally right in our own backyard into the marshland to go study some of the natural habitats there, or they go about 30 minutes away to the Gulf of Mexico. So there's a lot of hands-on opportunities for our marine science students. Next one I always like to talk about is our entrepreneurship program. Entrepreneurship, we've had it for a while, but they just got their brand new building, and it's actually ranked number 22 compared to any other entrepreneurship programs in the country. So we're really proud of that. We're only a 25-year-old university, so the fact that we have such a high achieving program is something we're really excited about. In that building, there's a maker space, there's an incubator, and something that I think is really unique for where this program's housed is oftentimes on any college campus, usually the deans or the important people are on the top level as far as the buildings go. They made sure that all the deans and advisors are on the first floor where the maker space and incubator is, so students always have accessibility to them. So they want the students who are passionate about starting their own business and growing, they want to be able to assist them. And then the last one, and I always have to talk about this one when it comes to some of our signature programs, would be our PGA Golf Management Program. So we are only one of 18 in the country and the only one in the state of Florida, which is shocking to me since Florida has hundreds, if not even maybe 1,000 golf courses. We have 140 golf courses just within an hour of our campus. So students might not be familiar with PGA golf management, but if you're a really avid golfer and you want to know kind of how you can become either a coach or oversee the clubhouses or anything like that, it's everything from studying the turf to kind of that resort and hospitality side of everything, making sure food and beverage is good and human resources and all of that. So definitely a unique program here at FGCU.
That's excellent. For the next question, we hear a lot about sticker price versus actual paid price for college tuition. What can you tell us about the tuition at FGCU and the typical financial aid packages students receive?
Sure. So for our out-of-state students, we do charge $838 per credit hour. So for cost of tuition and fees, it's usually about $25,100 per year for tuition and fees. So that's all your fees. That includes using our rec center. That includes going to sporting events. That includes your parking pass. That's something where I went to school. I didn't realize I'd be paying an extra $300 a year for a parking pass. Yeah. So for our tuition and fees, that is very much comprehensive. There's not a lot of hidden costs there's no hidden costs to my knowledge as far as that goes. Then for our housing and meal plans, that can vary in a cost. The most you'd be paying would be just over $10,000 a year. It depends on where you live, how much you want to eat, so on and so forth. So usually we say all together for our out-of-state students, it's typically around $35,000 before any scholarship or aid is added in. We've got a few different scholarship opportunities. One through the admissions office would be our 2 merit-based scholarships. So to be considered for a merit-based scholarship, you have to apply by our early action deadline of November 1st, which it's been pushed to November 15th this year. Early action for us is not a commitment, and I think I'll talk about that in a little bit here as well, but it's not a commitment. It just gives you priority consideration for the scholarships. And then additionally, for our top merit-based scholarship, you need to have a 3.9 weighted GPA, 1320 SAT, or a 28 ACT. And then for the one just below that, it starts at a 3.5 weighted GPA, 1220 SAT, and a 25 ACT. So those are some of the different scholarships that students have at their have accessibility to. We also have a lot of different scholarships on campus that can help subsidize a little bit, because I know going out of state can sometimes cost a little bit more. But we do get a lot of students from New Jersey, and I think we're actually even pretty comparable for our out of state tuition as we are with some in-state tuition in the New Jersey area. So we try to be as affordable as possible, and more than just the affordability aspect, we want to be as transparent as possible.
Great. What type of students do you typically accept to the school based on components such as test scores, GPA, class rank? I don't know if that's something you really consider typically.
Yeah, so when we look at a student, we do look at test scores, GPA, and we also look at the essay component. So I know some states are moving away from requiring either the ACT or SAT. The state of Florida, so any state universities, we are not getting rid of it anytime soon. So if you're planning on applying to FGCU or UCF, FSU, any one of those schools, we all have to require the ACT or SAT based off of state requirements. So just good note for students to kind of have in the back of their back in their head. For the essay component, I tell students put some effort into it, but I don't want you to lose sleep over it either, because I know sometimes students are like, I worked on this for a solid month straight. I think for the essay for us, we can tell if it's something that you care about when you're writing. We can also tell if it's been proofread by have a good friend proofread it, have a teacher, have a counselor, anything like that. So we pretty much look at merit, but then we do include that essay component a little bit as well, just so we can see a little bit more of the student.
Great. What is the typical GPA or test scores that you're looking for in students that are accepted to the school?
Yeah, so we don't have a minimum, which makes it kind of hard, but our average GPA is usually around a 3.8 GPA weighted, and then a 23 ACT and an 1140 SAT. So we say if you meet those averages, that makes your application competitive, but we do admit above and below those.
Great. We are an IB World School. We have both the IB Diploma program here as well as the IB Career program. How does IB affect a student's admissions candidacy? And do IB students have an advantage over non-IB students?
So we definitely are always proud of our IB students. I know it's a lot of work, and we have a few IB schools around here too, and I know how much work the students put in. It will not affect your overall admissions decision. It could help out because IB students typically have a higher weighted GPA, so that's something that definitely can help out. And then we also accept IB credits. And so if you get some of those classes done while you're in high school, that can help you be at an advantage when you are at FGCU, so you don't have to retake some of those courses. But from the actual admissions side, unless you include what you've, whether it's what you've learned or your research in your essay component, it's not something that will necessarily affect an admissions decision.
How important are activities in the college admissions process at your school?
Sure. So activities, being a state school in Florida, we want to make sure that we have equal opportunities for all our students. So extracurriculars are great, and I love when students are involved. For the admissions side of everything, we do not necessarily weigh those one way or the other, because we know some students have the ability to do more extracurriculars than other students, just depending on their life situation. For me, I always tell students, if you're involved in different things, that's a great time to discuss those activities and put them on like scholarship applications. We have a scholarship application at FGCU that you can promote those different activities. So it won't affect the admissions decision, but that's not to say don't stay involved, because that can help you out a lot in other areas.
How can a student make themselves stand out in the admissions review process?
So for us, we have two different deadlines. One is our early action deadline, which I mentioned is November 15th. The last one is the March 1st deadline. For us, the most important thing that I tell students is to apply early action and put some effort into that essay, because that's the one thing that you get to put some personality into. We admit the vast majority of our students that early action deadline. So you could be a straight A student with the best test scores I've ever seen in my life, and if you apply the day before our March 1st deadline, and if we're full, we're not going to be able to admit you. So I would say it's so important for us for you to apply early, and then also just make sure that you put all the information that you need to put in that essay that you want to, and also just really make sure that you are sending in the materials we need, such as transcript and test scores.
Is there a supplemental essay on the application?
We will just accept whatever the common
Okay.
essays are. Yeah, and we accept Common App or R. So the essay would just be one of those 7 options that students can
Common
choose.
App. And then this is the last question. If you could offer one piece of advice to students either early in the college search process or right at the end where they're about to submit their applications, what advice would you provide to them?
I tell students apply to multiple schools. I think that is one of the most important things. You might have your heart set on one school and maybe you don't get the scholarship you're hoping for, or maybe something happens and you're like, actually, I don't want to go to that school. So I tell students apply to multiple schools. You don't know what type of financial package you'll end up getting at that school unless you apply. So for me, it's better to over apply and then cancel your application than start scrambling towards the end of your senior year. So that would be my number one bit of advice. I can promise you, I've worked in admissions for about 7 years now at 3 different schools. Sometimes it does make me sad when students cancel their application, but it's not going to break my heart. I would much rather, and this goes for any admissions counselors at any school, we would much rather have you be at the school that you feel like you belong at than feel forced to go to one of our individual schools. So I'd say apply to all the schools you're interested in, make sure that you complete those apps and the scholarship application if they have it. That way you can have the best overall decision. My last bit, also try to visit, whether it's virtually or in person. You never know if you belong at that school unless you go and visit.
That's great advice. So that actually concludes our interview for today. Thank you so much, Samantha. It was excellent to sit down with you and learn more about Florida Gulf Coast. So we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.